Bad Juice Cast with
Fantacular edit. Fan edits are spectacular.
fan edits that we hope improve the original film, if maybe the original film's not that great, or enhances an already great film. However, I must get a disclaimer out of the way.
please support the studios and people who work behind the scenes of these films by purchasing the film on the latest format available before downloading any fan edit. Thanks.
I also must state that you will have to seek out where to find these fan edits on your own. Book of Shadows of Blair Witch 2.
Last summer, after the crowds left, 5 strangers returned to the woods to uncover the truth. But one of them has a secret that will unlock the curse.
You know, if you don't believe in the Blair Witch, then why the hell did you bother to come?
I thought the movie was cool.
This fall, just in time for Halloween, the witch is back. On October 27th, forget everything you've heard. Forget everything you've seen. Because this time, the truth is scarier than fiction.
A brutal murder in the Black Hills discovered today. In the past year, the Black Hills area has been overrun with movie fans wanting to get a glimpse of where the Blair Witch Project was filmed.
Funny enough, a movie doesn't even have a Book of Shadows in it. We're doing a fan edit by Agent Sam Stanley called Blair Witch 2 Recut. A hybrid of sort of director's cut and sort of his own tweaks. So I'm Ragekilla, and I'm with Wolfman's Got Nards, GeneralLotz, and special guest fan editor Agent Sam Stanley.
Hello.
Hey Sam, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. First time ever in a podcast, so be gentle, everyone.
It's mine too, so don't feel bad.
You've made it.
Yeah, you guys are gonna pop my cherry.
So, I guess before we go on to Blair Witch 2, we should briefly talk about Blair Witch 1 and this whole phenomenon it created.
Yeah.
About a year.
It started out in they just had a website with various details on it and stuff. Well, I guess we go back further. Really, this was a film that went around the film circuits, and then Artisan picked it up, and then they paid the actors to go into hiding, made a bunch of fake missing posters, and then they made a bunch of fake documentaries on sci-fi. There was one on Sci-Fi Channel, one on Showtime, to basically try and trick people that what they were about to see was real, which was just genius. And some people actually bought it because after the film came out, there was people that were going into the woods of Burkittsville and trying to find the witch and stuff. And I heard there was plenty of hunters and stuff that were just annoyed at these goth kids that kept coming in the damn woods just because of this movie.
The marketing process for the original Blair Witch was just genius. You know, it was exactly what sold the film and made it so successful. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Just to
agree 100%. I mean, when I first heard about it, I kind of felt that it was shades of Cannibal Holocaust, that Italian horror movie, and it was thought that this was a real thing that happened.
Yeah, Cannibal Holocaust was the first. The Blair Witch Project was the first one that became mainstream.
In America, because that's when it was the birth of the internet, and you had more stuff going around. But it definitely reminded me of it, and then. Of course, the movie came out and everybody was just mind blown by it because found footage types of movies, it wasn't the medium by then.
Yeah, there's no way that a movie like this could work today, tricking the audience in the age of social media and stuff. I mean, granted, not everybody was fooled, but there was still a good chunk of people who saw the documentary on Sci-Fi Channel, Curse of the Blair Witch, and they were like, "Wait a second," you know.
I'm not entirely sure if you couldn't get away with it. You got to remember, not everyone is going to immerse themselves in information to see if it's actually real or not. Like if you just, because I remember as a kid, because that's when this came out, because I'm probably the youngest one here. I didn't actually buy it because it seemed too unbelievable. It's like, well, why is it not on like the regular news? But if you don't really pay too much attention to the news, but you hear about this Blair Witch thing, you might still kind of get caught in it.
Well, they say it took place in 1994, and then the movie came out like 99, so they tried to kind of cover the tracks.
Actually, to be honest with you, on my end, it was on the news. Like they were like, like we're not sure if this is real or not, but it actually did get on the news over here about the 3 missing people.
Really, man, that did not happen here.
And you actually could get away with doing this types of stuff today. I mean, look, you go on Facebook and how much fake news is posted every single day.
Yeah.
You'd have to keep it. You'd have to keep it within some realm of reality. You couldn't say like the Yeti has attacked. You couldn't do that. But
I mean, moving forward, Sam, what was your take on the original?
Well, you guys were actually lucky because when the original Blair Witch got here, Brazil, everybody already knew that it was a fake. I mean, it wasn't. There was nothing real about it. No, it wasn't a real documentary, and those people weren't killed in the woods. I mean, everybody already knew that it was only a movie. So, but I was very interested to see it because I remember reading thousands of articles about how the film was scaring the hell out of everybody in the United States, and it was such a different film. So I had like very high expectations before seeing the film. And I remember when I went to see it, I mean, I was a teenager back then. I was like 14, 15 maybe. And I don't remember being scared by the film, but I remember that it certainly made an impact in me. I remember that I left the theater and the movie stayed with me. I mean, I thought about the film for a very long time. So, I mean, I enjoyed the film. It was like, at the time, it was a very different film for me. But I mean, I don't remember getting scared, like, oh my God, the Blair Witch, I can't sleep at night, like nothing like that.
The part that got me honestly at the end of the first one is when they went into the house itself and you saw him standing in the corner. That was like, whoa. But I mean, I thought it was a very, very well done movie, and like you said, the marketing was purely genius.
Yeah, it was terrific. I mean, even for today's standards, I mean,
I think it holds up quite well.
Yeah. And also, the studio like had put money into the movie to like refilm stuff. Like they had filmed like 3 or 4 different endings and stuff. So they ended up spending like more on reshoots, and they didn't use any of it. They didn't. They decided to release it as is.
the different endings were like terrible. I remember watching them on the DVD or something, and they were just like, no, I mean, the original ending is much better. It's just.
I agree.
And it's more blunt, and it's just what the film needs.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of like when you watch Paranormal Activity, where you get that same feeling. Like to me, Paranormal Activity was on par with Blair Witch.
Yeah, it had that good zinger of an ending.
But when you saw the multiple endings, and especially when there's a whole notion that there is multiple endings, it completely kills the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The movie like Clue, and it could be funny, but for something like this, I mean, hell, they had to have I remember this was on the news too. They had the actors come out of hiding just to prove that they didn't die.
Yeah. And they got some bad mail too from it, like death threats and stuff.
Oh, fuck them. But typical American cinema. This movie did really well, so we have to make a second one, and that's when Book of Shadows came out. And
yeah, they greenlit the sequel quick too, because the first one came out in '99.
A year later, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. There was no Book of Shadows and there was no Blair Witch, but I'm going to be totally honest and upfront about this. I absolutely hated Blair Witch 2. I could not stand that movie whatsoever. And it was one of those things where to me, it was just, instead of like Friday the 13th, where it was made by adults to scare teenagers, it felt like it was made to appeal to teenagers. Like, oh, this is dark, so we know you got to put Marilyn Manson in there. And it was like The Faculty, shit like that. And it just, to me, it didn't mesh very well. I watched it once. I thought it was dog shit. When Ragekilla was like, oh, check out this, your fan edit. I honestly, I was just like, oh, I hated this goddamn movie, but a job's a job. We got to watch it. I sat down, I watched it, and I actually
That you had to do.
I liked it. When it was done, I was like, this is really, really, really good. And I mean, right from the very
Okay.
beginning, once you switched it for Marilyn Manson song, there was. I mean, it's like, everybody had like their little goth phase where they thought Marilyn Manson was cool for 10 minutes. But even at that point, his act had grown stale. It's not Alice Cooper, So it was just like, once you switch that to Frank Sinatra's Witchcraft, I was like, this is awesome.
The director's original intention for the opening sequence, I mean, he wanted the movie to start very lighthearted, like the opera song, and then the group bonding, and then they go to the locations, and then they camp, and then they have the blackout, and then things start to go wrong, but like very gradually, like in the release version, you get like Marilyn Manson and all that violence and everything being thrown at your face, like in the first 2 minutes of the film, So it's a little bit all over the place,
It's hectic, and it really doesn't work very well. I mean, it's when you do horror movies, and I hate to quote the guy from Scream, it's got a very specific formula where you have to give that feeling of, okay, these are our characters, let's get to know them so that we can get used to them. Maybe we can get attached to one of them, so if they die later, we can feel the impact of it.
Yeah.
It's just the original. It gave absolutely none of that.
Yeah, it was like the editing was completely messy. I mean, they get like scenes from the end and they place in the beginning, so you already know stuff like you already see that Jeff is being questioned by the police, so you already know that something wrong.
It ruins any surprise or suspension.
It's confusing too. It's completely confusing. A lot of people are like, okay, but what's going on? That guy was being questioned, so now he's taking this tour group to the woods. I mean, are we supposed to trust this guy, or is he a villain? Is he a good guy? I mean, what? Like it was all over the place.
It was a complete clusterfuck. It's just you can't get into it, and it's because it was exactly as you said. It's like, okay, so this guy's being questioned by police. There's already dead people. Who is dead? Am I watching a flashback? Am I watching a telling of a story? Or what's going on here?
It keeps switching all the time, from when they're being interrogated, and then it goes back to when they're like trying to find Erica or whatever. It's messy.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was like a fight between what the director wanted to do in the studio. The director wanted to make a movie that wasn't about the Blair Witch, really. It was about fans uh, going into the woods and stuff, and then they end up having like this delusion, like a shared delusion. They believe that it's a witch, but really they're both just sort of freaking out. Well, at least there's many different ways you can look at this film. Like, I always figured that Jeffrey Donovan's character, because when he whips out the pot and stuff, I always figured he must have like laced the pot with something else, and then they start excessively drinking the stuff, and then then like because of his mental illness, the way he's able to like like convince them like of the tree and stuff like that, and like later on things aren't what they seem, like what the movie says, that like only video tells the truth, because that's when they play it back, and then everything they thought was revealed what really happened, which I thought was interesting.
Well, the way it originally was to me is that it just completely killed the whole supernatural aspect of the movie. I mean, if you're going to make a movie about ghosts and stuff, it's like, It's like watching The Beyond. That one, I believe it was Fulci, or maybe it was Argento. I'm not too sure. It was like watching The Beyond, and there was no ghost stuff going on. It was just, oh, here's spiders eating a guy's face. Okay, why is this happening? Type of stuff, you know. It's just, it was a mess. Now, Sam, did you have any input from the director on this at all? Like, did you speak and work with him at all?
No, no. I wish I did. I mean, what I did, I think I told Ragekilla about that, is that I was able to send him like a very short clip from my edit, like the first minutes of it, to him through Twitter, and he saw it and he said, "Well, this isn't exactly what I did in my version, but it's close enough. You know, it's pretty good. I mean, he liked it. I mean, he sort of, you know." So I was like really proud and stuff.
Did you just listen to the audio commentary of the movie, or did you like find the notes that were supposedly there was like director's notes online of like how he would have done a director's cut?
No, I mean, I remember listening to the audio. I mean, he was very specific about the stuff that he wasn't happy about in the film, and what he thought it would work better, and what he did, and even the songs that he used originally, like the Sinatra song, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I also saw the that video from the YouTube channel, Good Bad Flicks, you know, exploring Blair.
Yeah.
That's a very, very good video about the movie. I mean, that guy, he does some really good videos.
Mm-hmm.
And
He does his homework. I like his stuff.
yeah, he's great. I remember watching them, and I remember I was like, wow, there's so much stuff about Blair Witch 2. I mean, so much interesting stuff that just passes you by, you know, when you're watching the film, but it's actually there. So that was sort of an inspiration for me to do the fan edit. You know, I mean, his video was one of the biggest inspirations for me.
You know, that's actually what I was going to ask you next. Is what exactly got you to do this? I mean, did you just like look at it and be like, this could have been so much more, or was it just like, you know what, I want a challenge. Let's see if I can do this.
I think it was a little bit of both because I always enjoyed the film. I mean, to some level, you know. I mean, of course, it's not a great film, but I mean,
There's like a nugget of a good idea in there, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's just something about it that I always liked. I mean, as a whole, it didn't work, but there were things about it. I mean, the whole idea behind the film was interesting to me. And then when I heard that, okay, this wasn't exactly what the director wanted to release, I was like, oh man, this could have been like a good sequel, you know, like a good movie for the
So
franchise.
how much of it would you say is like unofficial director's cut, and how much of it is your own fan edit stuff? You know.
Let me think. There were some scenes of some ghosts appearances, like a little girl, like appear. There's a scene of Tristan in the hospital right after she miscarriages the baby, and she's talking to the nurse. Then she sees like this the ghost of this little girl. Like it was like kind of lame. I remember I was watching that scene with my nephew. He's like 6 years old, and he thought it was ridiculous, you know. So I was like, not scary at all. So I cut that off. But I think that was supposed to be in the film, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
If a 6-year-old isn't buying it, then it's no good.
Even though I believe you're the second person who has tackled this, maybe there's been a few others who have tackled edits.
I heard about it. I mean, I haven't seen the versions. I mean,
Kind of gets hard to do that because I mean, like when you're creating your own content or when you edit things, it's like, hey, check out this guy's version of it. It's kind of like, no, I think I've seen it enough. Thanks.
yeah.
The only scene that I thought could have like been edited down would have been that scene where the goth character, I forgot her name, she sees like Jeffrey and he appears as like he's being electrocuted. I thought like that should have been like like flashed like more quick. That was like that's the only thing. Otherwise, I think everything else was really solid.
The electric chair scene, if it was like a second flicker of it,
Yeah.
people would be rewinding that and saying, "What the hell was I just seeing?" As opposed to a vision of, "Oh, this is where this asshole is going to wind up."
Yeah, well, I wish you guys had said this to me when I was making the cut, because now
well,
I had to go and rewrite it again. But yeah, that's actually interesting. I mean, even if you see Jeff being the electrocution, I mean, you still don't quite understand why she's seeing it, until you get to the end of the film, when you see that they're going to prison and they're probably going to be executed for what they did. It's like a premonition that she's having.
Right.
I think she mentioned in the beginning that she could see into the future, though, so it kind of fits. I mean, we had to at least make that claimed ability like legitimate instead of just having her, oh, I can see into the future, and then okay, what do we see?
That's pretty much the movie in a nutshell. What are we seeing? I'm not really sure. I will say this about the fan edit: it makes a horrible movie passable. But honestly, I really didn't like I didn't like the very idea of the film. Even and the edit was really quite good, but for me, no matter how good it was going to be, I still wasn't going to like it because the very premise to me just seemed really, really, really dumb. Like they were really reaching to have some kind of sequel with that. I mean, the idea of a bunch of insane fans that there is no witch, there is no book. It's literally just a bunch of idiots that effectively kill themselves for no really good reason. Like, and it didn't have to be that way. I mean, even the most incompetent of director could have they find the book and it makes them go crazy and kill each other. How hard would that have been? I mean, come on, they find a book. How hard is it to make a book? They find the book, they go crazy. Or, as Ragekilla said, they lace the weed with something. Okay, how hard would that have been? But no, it literally just, it's dumb. That's all I got.
My take on that is that the reason why they did why they did these horrible things that they did is because it was the witch's influence. I mean, the whole notion of the tree being full grown and then being small and then being full grown again and then all blacking out, that to me was just the witch's influence.
What I really liked about the film, it's a little bit ambiguous. You don't really know if it's the witch or if they just went crazy, or if maybe Jeff put something in their drink, or Jeff is manipulating. You just don't know. I think that's one of the aspects of the film that I like.
It's a very good point. Yeah, anybody can draw their own conclusion.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as the Book of Shadows goes, as far as I could tell, they put it in a teaser trailer, and that was it. Like the studio for some reason was like, we gotta call this film Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, and there's no mention of a Book of Shadows.
Yeah, the Book of Shadows thing was completely a studio decision. I mean, the movie's title was supposed to be Blair Witch 2. That's why I cut Book of Shadows out of my fan edit.
Right.
It didn't need it.
No, I mean, there's no reason for a Book of Shadows to be in the title. It's just stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that right there is it's a very good point though. It's just the appeal is that, hey, did you do this? Did you do this? And then fans can discuss it later. And I mean that's something that you don't see in a whole lot of movies later. And I mean watching this fan edit, it makes things a lot more crystal clear because the editing that you did, I mean that was top notch work. I mean you couldn't have done better on the editing. You really couldn't have. But it was just you can still watch this movie and you have a more clear representation of what happened in this movie so that when people because that's what we did as kids is we sat down and we bullshitted about movies and we were like no, this is what happened. And everybody was like, well, you're not wrong, but this is how I feel about it. You just don't get that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's a debate of like whether or not it couldn't be in their minds, stuff like that. Well, it's like, didn't a year or two ago. Wasn't there like some teenage girls who murdered somebody and they swore up and down that Slender Man told them to do it? You know?
Yeah. Well, the idea of fans being crazy and doing stupid shit that's an American thing. You know, people get attached to shit and they just do dumb things. I mean, growing up in New Jersey, people that went out looking for the Jersey Devil, and then when people realized that that Friday the 13th was shot in New Jersey, all of a sudden everybody wanted to go to Camp Crystal Lake. You know, it's just people get attached to things in unhealthy ways, and they wind up expressing themselves in really fucked up ways. And this to me, it's not a stretch. It's something that people will absolutely do if they're that
Obsessed, yeah.
I remember when that movie, Natural Born Killers, came out. There was this couple that actually wanted to be the couple from the film, so they went out on a murder rampage. I mean, in the area that you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that like post memes on Facebook. These are couple goals. Really? You want to be a bunch of white trash psychos that kill people? That's fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
You know, some people. You know, so I don't feel that it's too much of a stretch though that a bunch of people would go out to the woods, and even if there was no Blair Witch whatsoever, yeah, it's very plausible that this guy who was hospitalized for schizophrenia had seen the movie as a kid or heard about the legend as a kid and wanted to make it real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was also nice that you added the correct text information at the beginning of the movie, because I guess that stuff wasn't really explained in the movie, right? It was like on the website or something like that.
Yeah, I remember most of the background info for Jeff that I used for in the title cards in the beginning. Some of them I got from the official site, and some was on the that fake documentary Shadow of the Blair Witch that
Right.
Explains a little bit of Jeff's background. You know.
Yeah, that fake documentary they tried to fool people again, saying that Blair Witch 2 was based off a true story.
Jeff was a real person, and then he.
Yeah, when I see Jeffrey Donovan, I just think of TV series Burn Notice, where he plays.
Oh yeah, right.
Michael West.
Famous for that show, right?
Yeah.
By the way, you guys live in the United States, so you might have more info than me. Whatever happened to the other actors of Blair Witch 2? I mean, they
didn't do anything.
I can only think of bad jokes.
They became Sega CD actors. I'm just gonna go with that.
No, I know that. I did see Jeffrey Donovan in a few films, like in small roles. But I mean, and he was also in the second season of Fargo, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. He also has a new TV series on Hulu as well.
Yeah. He was on that too.
And then the rest of them had essentially wiped out their careers. I mean, the goth girl. I mean, it's like, so what were you? Like, what experience do you have in films? Oh, I was the goth in Blair Witch 2. Yeah, you can get the fuck out now. You mentioned
what about
Sega
the redhead? I mean, she was like very pretty, and I think she was a pretty good actress. I mean, she could have done some other stuff.
The redhead, she was also in the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Yeah, that's her.
I had no idea.
She played Pepper.
Yeah, really? Pepper. Yeah. Oh my god.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea that was her.
And Goth Girl, she was also in an Inside Man with Denzel Washington.
Oh man, I saw Inside Man like thousands of years ago. I mean, I don't even remember the story of the film.
Was your last movie Blair Witch 2? Poor people. They just want work, and then they get that.
Mm-hmm. It's always sad.
Yeah, I don't think Jeffrey Donovan will even talk about Blair Witch 2.
Yeah, he never. I never saw. Actually, we were talking about Jeffrey Donovan. I just remember this story. The director, Joe Berlinger, director of Blair Witch 2, he said that he picked Jeffrey Donovan to the role of Jeff because during his audition, the director asked him, "Okay, so what did you think of the original Blair Witch, and he said, "Well, I think it sucked. Honestly, I mean, he just hated the film, and he thought that he was like, oh, and this guy, he's like, he has a lot of personality. You know, he's like really honest. So I mean, I think he's gonna work for the character." So he just picked him because of that. You know, because he actually said that he hated the first film.
First, most people would, oh, it's my favorite movie of all time. It's better than anything I've ever seen.
He actually gave this honest speech. You know, he just said what he actually thought about it.
Well, I think Blair Witch 2 is unique. I mean, because then by the time they made the third one, they just kind of repeated the first movie again, only with multiple cameras and stuff.
Yeah, okay. What? Everybody who hates Blair Witch 2, okay, we have to agree about something here. It's better than the third one. Come on. I mean, the third one is shit. Like shit.
I thought the third one, I thought the third one was all right, but like, yeah, it was still like, you know, same thing over again.
I'm going to be honest, I've never even seen the third one because after the second one, it was like, it's not going to get any better from here.
Done with this one. Yeah. The third one, I gave it a shot because, you know, like I said, I didn't care for the second one. And then the third one, every time I hear a movie say, we're going back to our roots, you know, like the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, you know, but I still gave it a shot and it was garbage.
It's garbage.
And
I thought at the end that was a Blair Witch, but I guess it turned out it wasn't. So I like to think that thing we saw at the end was actually what happened to Heather.
I think they were going to try to make it out to be that Heather was possessed by the Blair Witch, which was a pretty flat-out ripoff of Wreck in Spain, but it was called Quarantine in America, the sequel. And I don't know if you'd ever seen those movies. Have you ever heard of those, Sam?
No, to be totally honest, I don't even remember the end of the film. It's like there's something like a time travel shit. Like they're in. They go back in time or something. I don't remember exactly. I mean, I saw the third film like I think when it came out, you know, and I wasn't really impressed by it. I thought it was like, oh, so I just got out of my mind, you know. I don't even remember the movie.
That's got to say something if you've erased it from memory. That's like when I watch. That's like when I watched Creepshow 3. Movie was so.
But I heard it's terrible. I mean, it's like, oh my god, don't watch that.
I gave it a shot, and
you regret everything.
Pretty much, I wanted to go to a church and repent for my sins. You know, just to apologize for giving money to such a horrible cause.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't even know what they could even do with the Blair Witch franchise. I've heard like talks of like a TV series. I'm like, really?
Why?
I heard about that too. I have no idea what they're gonna do and how they're going to develop, but I don't know.
I mean, there is lots of lore, but I don't know. Because I know they even made 3 video games that explored different aspects. So if we were gonna like sum up like a rating for Blair Witch 2 Recut, I guess it'd be a recommend for me. Wolfman.
Well, me, I give it an absolute recommend. If you did not like this movie, I mean, Lotz has given a very great point of view as to it, you know, where the movie is still nonsensical. But the best way that I can sum this up, it's probably the best endorsement that I personally can give this movie, is that it took what I felt was a bad movie and made it enjoyable to watch. It wasn't even like, I watched it. It was, this wasn't bad. I enjoyed it now. Well, sir, you did a fantastic job on this.
Right.
Oh, thank you very much. It's really. I'm very delighted when I hear people saying that they hated the original version, but they actually enjoyed my. You know, it's like.
It took 17 years, but we finally got a version of the movie that's good.
About damn time.
I'm a black rainbow and I'm an ape of God. I got faces made for violence upon. I'm a teen distortion, survived abortion, a rebel from the waist down. Yeah, 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 yeah. discovery